The signal in the void, the stars around them, were dying. The Sora, a small exploration vessel, drifted quietly near the edge of a red dwarf system. Its engines were dead. Life support was failing. Lights flickered weakly in the corridor, casting long shadows across the silent halls. The alien crew on board, once proud travelers of the stars, now clung to hope with shaking hands. Captain Yell, a calm and logical mind in most times, now sat with his back against the comms panel. Sweat ran down his gray-blue skin. Beside him, First Technician Lina adjusted the emergency beacon again and again, even though they all knew it was working. It had been working for days. No one had answered. "We've sent the signal 12 times, Lina whispered. Her voice was raspy from recycled air. Still no response. The other crew members said nothing. Some stared at the blinking console. Some prayed in silence. They were explorers, not soldiers. Not valuable merchants. Just a curious crew who wandered too far off course, miscalculated the pull of the star's gravity well, and lost engine control in the outer drift. Their emergency power kept them alive, but just barely. Captain Yell stood slowly. "We try." Again. "No one's listening," said their youngest member, Laura. Her eyes were dull with fear. "The bigger empires don't care. We're not on a major route. We're not important." Silence again. She was right. In the galactic core. Ships answered each other in minutes. Patrols flew daily. But this far out, help wasn't guaranteed. The big powers didn't waste resources on small, harmless ships. Lina pressed the button anyway. A soft pulse spread from the antenna, a last cry, into the void. 3 more hours passed. The lights dimmed further. Breathing grew harder. And the sensor chimed. One soft beep. Eyes widened. Everyone turned. Lina scrambled to the console and tapped the flickering screen. "A ship," she gasped. "There's a ship approaching." Captain Yell rushed over. "Details?" "It's small," Lina said. "Fast. No official markings. Not from any major power." A flicker of hope lit their faces. Then worry. What if it's pirates? Someone muttered. They all looked at the captain. Pirates would strip their ship and leave them to die if they didn't do worse. But Yell shook his head. If it was pirates, they would have jammed our sensors. This one, they came in clean. Outside the viewport, a shape appeared, long silver with thick black plating. It didn't shine like a new ship. It looked old, scarred. The unknown vessel rotated and matched their drift. Then, with precise movement, it extended a docking arm. "They're boarding," Lina whispered. The airlock hissed open with a creak. The lights in the hall were barely working, but they illuminated the figure that stepped through. A human. Tall, wrapped in a worn black coat. His boots echoed heavily as he walked into their ship. His eyes scanned the crew, calm, tired, but focused. No. One moved. Some backed away. Most aliens had only heard rumors about humans. Unpredictable, wild, survivors from a planet known for storms, beasts, and endless conflict. The human raised one hand, slowly. "Name's Ray," he said. "Heard your call. Got some tools. Let's see what I can fix." For a long moment, no one said anything. Then Lina stepped forward. You came alone?" Ray gave a slow nod. "Didn't have much else going on. You got the signal?" "Didn't just get it," he replied. "I listened." Captain Yell blinked, confused. "Why would you? We're not your kind. Not from your system." Ray crouched beside a wall panel and pulled out a strange-looking device from his bag. "Doesn't matter. You asked for help." Lina exchanged a glance with Yell. "You're not afraid?" Ray smiled faintly, not looking up. "Of what? Ghosts? Star pirates? Death?" His eyes flicked up. "Been through worse." Then he tapped the wall. "You've got fuel leaks in your junction lines." And that gravity coil? Toasted. But it's fixable. Yell frowned. You're an engineer? Ray stood. Used to be. Then I broke too many things instead of fixing them. No one knew what that meant, but in that moment, none of them cared. For the first time in days, there was someone aboard who brought action. A stranger, a human, a possible threat, but also their only chance. Ray moved to the engine bay. Behind him, the alien crew followed, silent and stunned. And somewhere in the galaxy, another signal went unanswered. But this one this desperate. Signal had found a listener. One human asterisk, the human who answered, the engine bay of the Sora, smelled of burnt wiring and desperation. Ray moved with calm hands, pulling panels open, shining an old flashlight into places the alien crew had stopped. Checking. He knelt next to the main junction, tapped a few connectors, then turned to Lena. Your fusion controller is overloaded, he said. Wasn't built to handle a red dwarf's radiation. I've seen this before. You've been near stars. Like this? Lena asked, surprised Ray didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled out a coil of wire from his satchel horn, patched in places, but carefully coiled. Once, he said. Didn't end well. Captain Yell stood ashort, distance away, observing. Ray wasn't like any human he had imagined. There was no aggression in his eyes, no hunger for reward. He worked as if saving them was a task on a list, something quiet and necessary. Why are you helping us? Yell asked directly. Ray shrugged. Because no one else did. That answer brought silence. Ray spent the next hour replacing damaged sections of the power grid with old Earth standard parts. He didn't ask for help, but Lena stayed close, watching and learning. Why do you carry tools from Earth? She asked. Ray looked up. Most ships use sleek stuff now. Digital tools, instant diagnostics. That's good until they fail in the middle of nowhere. Old tools don't lie. Lena smiled a little. She liked his simple way of explaining things. Ray stood and wiped his hands. Try power up now. Lena tapped the panel. The lights in the bay flickered, then brightened. Fans kicked on. The emergency systems hummed to life with stronger current. The crew in the hallway cheered. Yell looked at the readouts. Stabilizing. You've done more in 1 hour than we managed in 4 days. Ray just nodded. Still not flight ready. But I can get you moving again. Later, in the dim mess hall, Ray sat with the simple meal nutrient bars he brought. From his ship, the aliens offered to share their last rations, but he declined. Lena sat beside him, quiet for a moment before speaking. You don't talk much, Ray chuckled. Most people talk too much. I listen. She glanced at his worn jacket, the faded patch on the sleeve. You were military? He looked at her. Was. You left? I left after I stopped believing we were helping. Lena frowned. And now? Ray took a bite, chewed slowly, then replied, Now I help where I can. I don't wait for orders anymore. Suddenly, an alarm buzzed on the bridge. Lena and Ray rushed to the front. The screen showed a new contact vessel, approaching fast. The silhouette didn't match any Alliance rescue ship. Its weapons were hot. Captain Yell's face paled. It's a raider. Maybe it followed our signal. Ray leaned in. Not maybe. Definitely. What do we do? Lena asked. Ray narrowed his eyes. You keep quiet. Power down again. I'll handle them. You can't fight a ship alone. I won't be using a ship, Ray replied. Back in his small vessel, docked like a flea on the side of the Sora Ray, opened a sealed case beneath the pilot seat. Inside lay a dark metal suit, compact but heavy, and an old sidearm that looked nothing like modern plasma weapons. He clipped it to his belt, pulled on the armor, and checked a tiny display on his wrist. A pulse of red light blinked. Target locked. Ray sighed. Let's do this the old way. He stepped into the airlock. The alien crew watched on their monitors as the human launched himself from the docking corridor using a magnetic tether and a pack of thrusters. One human against a pirate crew of 20 in the pirate ship's main hall. The crew barely had time to react. A figure crashed through their docking hatch, rolling into cover and opening fire with stunning precision. Not plasma shots, but piercing, kinetic bursts. They tore through armor, scattering raiders in panic. Ray moved like smoke. Fast, clean, brutal. He didn't speak. He didn't shout. He simply eliminated every threat, one at a time. The last pirate tried to beg. Ray just looked at him and said, "They asked for help." Then silence. Back on the Sora, the crew sat stunned. The pirate ship had gone silent. Then the comm buzzed. Ray's voice came through. "Docking now? It won't bother you again." Captain Yell whispered, "What kind of man is he?" Lena stared at the screen. The kind who keeps promises, even if no one asked him to. Past scars and present choices, the ship was quiet again. But not with fear this time. With awe, Ray returned from the pirate ship with a few salvage crates and light bruises. He didn't brag. He didn't celebrate. He simply handed a power cell to Lena and said, "Use this? It'll help boost your stabilizers." Lena stared at him, speechless. He walked past her toward the maintenance bay, dragging another crate behind him. As he passed Captain Yell, the old alien gave a nod of deep respect. "Thank you, human." Ray stopped. "It's Ray." "Ray," Yell repeated. "What you did. Most warriors wouldn't have tried it alone." Ray looked away. Wasn't about winning. It was about not letting them win. Hours later, with systems slowly coming back online, Lena found Ray sitting alone in a lower corridor. He was patching a tear in his coat, using a small needle and some old black thread. "You're bleeding," she said quietly, pointing to a red stain at his side. It stopped. Ray replied without looking up. Lena knelt beside him. "Why? Do you do this? Risk your life for strangers?" Ray finally looked at her. "Because once I didn't." She blinked. "Didn't what?" "Didn't answer," he said. His voice was calm, but the pain behind his eyes was not. He took a deep breath. A long time ago, another signal went out. From a civilian colony caught between two empires. I was nearby, had the means to help. My order said stand down, so I did. He paused, staring at the patch he was stitching. By the time help arrived, the colony was gone, burned to the ground. Over 100 people. Gone. And I had to live knowing I could have changed that. Lena's voice was soft. "You were following orders." Ray's voice hardened. "Doesn't matter. I knew it was wrong. I just didn't have the courage to act alone." She sat beside him quietly. "Is that why you left your people?" "I left the military," Ray said. "I didn't leave my people. It left me the moment they stopped caring." He looked around at the dim corridor of the alien vessel. "But some things don't change. People still cry for help. I can't fix everything, but I can answer now." Lena was silent, absorbing his words. "I think we sent that signal expecting to die," she whispered. "But you showed up." Ray nodded once. "Next time, maybe someone else will do the same." She smiled. "You talk like you're trying to fix the galaxy by yourself." Ray stood. "No, just trying to make up for the piece I broke." Later, the crew gathered in the control room. The ship's power was stable, and the engines had partial thrust. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Ray stood before the navigation screen. "You'll want to reroute to the trade line near the Belter Ridge. Safer path, less pirate activity." Captain Yell adjusted the screen. "We owe you more than a route." Ray shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." Yell looked. to the others, then asked, "Where will you go now?" Ray stared at the star map. His finger hovered over a tiny dot at the edge of the screen. "There's another signal coming from this sector. Small mining moon. Weak distress call. I'm going to check it out." "You can't go alone again," Lena said. Ray smiled. "That's what everyone keeps saying." Yell stepped forward. "At least let us give you supplies. We can spare fuel now. Some food. And," he looked to Lena, "a copy of our route logs." Ray hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you." Lena handed him a small data crystal. "These are new planets we found before the engine failed. You might like them." Ray took it gently. "I will." As his ship detached from the Sora, the alien crew gathered in the window bay. They watched the small weathered vessel pull away and disappear into the dark dot. Lena stayed longest. She whispered, "He thinks he's just making up for the past. But he doesn't see it. He's inspiring the future." And for the first time since they sent their desperate call into the stars, they smiled with hope. Because one human came, and he changed everything. Asterisk. Trouble comes knocking 2 days past since the Sora resumed limited movement. The alien crew stayed busy repairing what they could using the supplies Ray left behind. The engines sputtered, but they worked. Power levels rose. The sense of despair that had haunted the ship began to fade, but peace never lasted long in deep space. A warning siren echoed through the control room, sharp and sudden. Lena dashed to the console. Unidentified ship, approaching fast. Captain Yell stepped beside her. "Is it another pirate?" The screen displayed a sleek, heavily armed vessel. Black hull, marked with a red claw insignia. Lena's voice dropped. "It's a Hunter-class destroyer. Not just pirates. Raiders for hire. The worst kind. Can we run?" Yell asked. "Not fast enough," Lena said. The Sora had barely reached half its maximum speed. The new engine repairs helped, but it still limped across space like a wounded bird. The alien crew scrambled to their positions. Some powered what few defense systems they had. Others hid in maintenance shafts, praying it would pass them by. Then the message came through. A deep, cruel voice crackled across the speaker. "Unidentified vessel. Shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be your last mistake." Captain Yell's hands trembled. "They'll take everything. Maybe worse." Lena whispered, "Where's Ray when we need him?" But Ray had left 2 days ago. His ship had vanished into the void. There was no help coming. Or so they thought. A second blip appeared on the scanner. Tiny. Fast. Unregistered. Lena leaned forward. That's his ship." The Hunter-destroyer had noticed 2. It sent out a warning shot toward Ray's vessel. A glowing lance of plasma. But Ray didn't dodge. Instead, his small ship cut through the plasma trail like a ghost, rolled sideways, and vanished from sensors for a moment only to appear behind the raider vessel. Inside the Sora, Lena and Yell watched the screens in disbelief. Ray's vessel shouldn't have been that agile. Not that fast. And definitely not that smart. He activated a deep space maneuver rarely seen in this region, burned his drives in reverse, and launched magnetic javelins that tore into the Hunter ship's outer shields. The raider returned fire. Ray's ship spun and slipped around the bolts with dancer-like grace. In seconds, he was inside their blind spot. Then came the real surprise. He didn't fire missiles. He launched himself again. Just like before with thrusters, a magnetic tether. And pure guts Ray blasted from his ship toward the destroyer's main hatch. This time, the raider was ready. A squad of armored fighters stood waiting behind, sealed bulkheads. But Ray didn't go through the front. He landed on the side of the vessel, crawled beneath its belly, and cut into a hidden maintenance port. Within minutes, alarms blared inside. A Hunter-class destroyer. Gunfire. Explosions. Screams. Lena stared at the chaos unfolding on the external cams. He's inside again? Yell shook his head in disbelief. That's not just a soldier. That's something else. One by one, the Raider ship systems blinked offline. Shields dropped. Weapons fell silent, and the engines shut down completely. Short time later, the Kung crackled. Ray's voice came through, calm as ever. Hunter vessel is clear. You're safe now. Captain Yell blinked. Did he disable the whole ship? Lena whispered, alone, again. As Ray returned to his ship and redocked briefly with the Sora, the crew gathered around the airlock. He stepped out with a black case under one arm and a deep cut along his shoulder. Stole a few supplies from them, he said, handing the case to Yell. Might help. Lena stepped forward. Ray? How are you still alive? He gave her a tired look. You ever meet someone who's been through so much, they forget how to die? No one answered. As the Raider ship drifted powerless into the void, Ray leaned against the bulkhead. No mistake, he said. They'll send more next time. Word travels. But for now, you're safe. Captain Yell placed a hand over his chest and bowed. We would not have survived this without you. Ray looked out the viewport. You might not always have someone like me around. Yell replied, Then we'll be someone like you instead. Ray didn't speak, but the look in his eyes showed something close to peace. Just for a moment. Asterisk. The truth about Ray sat quietly in the engine bay, cleaning a deep cut on his arm. He barely flinched. The alien crew had offered medical aid, but he insisted on doing it himself. Old habits died hard. Lena stood nearby, holding a datapad. She hesitated, then slowly walked closer. I scanned your emblem, she said softly. Ray didn't look up. I figured you would. You were part of a human unit once, but not just any unit. You wore the insignia of the Black Echo Group. Ray paused, then nodded. Yeah, Lena frowned, but that group was rumored. Classified. Ghost stories. Silent missions. No survivors. There were survivors, Ray said, voice low. Just not many, and not the kind worth celebrating. She sat beside him. Tell me. Ray sighed and leaned back against the bulkhead. We were created to do what no one else would. Missions that required silence, speed, and no emotion. Lena listened quietly, her eyes wide. We were sent to end wars before they started, or before they got worse. Sometimes that meant eliminating threats. Sometimes that meant letting innocents die so others wouldn't. He looked at her finally. I was good at it. Too good. Lena shook her head. So why did you leave? Ray exhaled slowly. Because. One day, I realized I no longer knew who the enemy was. When you start looking at every stranger like a target, it's time to stop. She placed a hand over her chest. But you still fight. Ray gave a faint smile. Only for those who can't. I don't fight for governments anymore. I fight for people who ask for help. Captain Yell joined them in the bay. He held a small object wrapped in cloth. We found this in the supply crate you brought from the Yas. Raider ship? Do you know what it is? Ray unwrapped it and stared. It was a beacon core. Extremely rare use to boost emergency signals across deep space. Instantly. Lina gasped. That's worth more than this whole ship, Ray nodded. They were probably going to sell it to the black market. Yell offered it back. It's yours. You took the risk. But Ray closed the cloth again and handed it to Lena. No, he said. You'll need it before this journey's over. Keep it. Use it when the galaxy stops listening again. That night, the crew held a silent gathering in the observation chamber. The stars glowed outside. Calm and vast. Ray stood near the edge, watching. Lina approached. Do you ever rest? Ray gave a small laugh. Only when I know someone's safe. She looked at him thoughtfully. You're not just a soldier. You're a reminder. Of what? That even in the darkest places, someone still cares. He didn't reply. But for the first time since she met him, his shoulders eased. Just a little. Hours later, Ray prepared his ship for departure again. Lena stood by the docking arm, arms crossed. Are you ever going to stay? Ray sealed the airlock behind him. Not likely. Why? He looked at her through the small window. Because the galaxy is broken in too many places. I can't fix them all, but I can try. She nodded, but her eyes didn't hide the sadness. Will we see you again? Ray smiled faintly. If you're lucky, you won't need me. As his ship detached, the Sora once again became alone, dot among countless stars. But this time, it didn't feel so alone. Inside the control room, Lena activated the emergency beacon, this time using the powerful core Ray had recovered. A new signal pulsed from their ship, not a call for help. Message. We were saved by a human. He came alone. He asked for nothing. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark, listen. You may hear him coming. Across the galaxy, ships and stations picked up the signal. Most dismissed it. Some saved it. A few listened in silence. And on. A distant moon, where another weak distress call rang out, a small human ship blinked into orbit. Asterisk, a gift beyond rescue. The Sora floated in calm space now. Its hull had scars, but its systems were stronger than ever. Power ran stable. Navigation was restored. The crew was alive, not just in body, but in spirit. Much of that was because of Ray, but even after saving them, Ray had left without waiting for thanks or reward. Just like before, he vanished into the stars. Still, he hadn't left them with nothing. In the engine room, Lena and the chief mechanic stood over a strange device Ray had bolted into their power core before leaving. It wasn't part of their original system. What is it? The mechanic asked. Lena tapped the side gently. It's a human capacitor relay, an old one. But this one's modified. Modified how? She showed him a small screen built into the unit. On it was a simple menu. Emergency boost, signal cloak, tracking cut. It gave the Sora the ability to escape scans, boost away with sudden thrust, or cut itself off the grid completely. He gave us a way to vanish if raiders ever return. Lena said quietly. He gave us time. Meanwhile, Captain Yell activated another item Ray had left, a portable AI core shaped like a black cube. The moment it lit up, a voice greeted him. Designation? Scout AI, Echo Unit. Hello, Captain. Yell blinked. You're from Ray? Affirmative. Former companion AI to Black Echo operative Ray. Reassigned to support allies of interest. Why give you to us? Ray believes you deserve a second chance. The AI uploaded defensive maps, safe travel routes, and recorded logs of potential threats in nearby systems. Ray hadn't just rescued them. He had armed them for the future. Later, Lena found a handwritten note tucked inside the navigation console. Human writing. Rough letters. Use what I've left to help someone else. The galaxy only heals if we pass the fire forward. She pressed the paper to her chest, eyes filled with emotion. He doesn't think he's a hero, she whispered. But heroes never do. On the edge of a mining moon far from trade lanes, a group of workers stared into the sky. They had sent out a weak emergency signal days ago. Equipment failure, dust storms, and no supplies left. They expected silence, just like the Sora once had, but now they watched in awe as a ship approached. A human ship, not small, dented and fast. It hovered, then landed smoothly in the dust. The hatch opened. Ray stepped out, pulling a crate behind him, with water, tools, and sealed rations. A worker rushed forward. You got our message? Ray nodded. Late, but I'm here. The worker looked around. Is there more of you? Ray smiled faintly. Just me, it's enough. Meanwhile, aboard the Sora, the alien crew gathered in the observation chamber. Lina activated the new signal Ray had helped them create a beacon, but not for help. For hope. Its message. One human saved us. Now we pass that gift on. In a galaxy where governments ignored cries for help, where alliances failed to protect the weak, where many looked the other way, one man moved silently from star to star. And in his wake, the spark he left behind began to grow. Asterisk, a message to the stars. In the quiet heart of space, the Sora floated once more. Not lost, not broken, but steady. The crew had finished the last repairs. Their systems were stable. Their spirits were stronger than ever. In the command room, Captain Yell stood before the crew. His voice was calm, but proud. We were forgotten, he said. Abandoned, but we are not the same ship anymore. Lina stepped forward with a data pad. The new beacon is ready. She looked around the room. This time, we send out a different signal. Not for help, not for rescue, but to remind the galaxy what one person can do. Across the stars, in outposts and trade lanes, alien ships picked up a strange message. This is the crew of the Sora. We were stranded. No one answered, except one, a human. He saved us, gave us hope, and left us stronger. If you hear this, remember heroes still exist, even in silence. The signal repeated, spreading through relays and satellites. It wasn't loud, but it was clear, and many listened. Some laughed, some doubted, but others, who had also once waited in silence, felt something shift. On a cargo vessel in the deep rim, a young pilot paused as she heard the message. On a desert moon, a mining foreman stared at the screen, stunned. And in a war-torn colony far from any patrol routes, an old soldier whispered, "He's still out there." Ray had become a shadow in the records. No official files. No rewards. Just rumors. But now, the Sora's message made those rumors real. Meanwhile, on a forest-covered moon, Ray crouched beside a crashed medical pod. Inside, a wounded alien child lay unconscious. Ray worked quietly, patching the bleeding arm, stabilizing the vitals, giving the child water from a small bottle. Mother screamed from the tree line, saw the human and froze. Ray turned slowly. He held up both hands. "I'm here to help." The mother hesitated, then stepped closer, tears in her eyes. She nodded once. And just like that, another tiny part of the galaxy changed. Later, as the sun dipped over the alien trees, Ray sat beside his ship. He watched the sky as stars flickered overhead. He pulled a small recorder from his jacket, pressed the button, and spoke softly. "To the next ones who wait, I know how it feels. I know the silence, the fear, the slow dying of hope. I can't be everywhere, but I'll come when I can. Until then, hold on." Ray aboard the Sora. Lina stared out the viewport. She didn't know where Ray was now, but she knew the galaxy would remember him, not through statues or medals, but through whispers, through hope, through signals that were no longer cries of fear but promises. Because one man came when no one else did, and that changed everything.